If you could fix one problem in the world, what would you pick? Maybe you choose to focus on problems here in the Bay Area: drug addiction, homelessness, inequality. Or perhaps you choose to focus on global challenges: climate change, the threats posed by AI, or global conflict. I want you to close your eyes. Take a deep breath. Take a moment to imagine someone who is affected by the problem that you just thought of. Maybe it's someone you know, or even a distant stranger. How would their life be different if this problem were fixed? And now imagine this person 100, 1,000, or even 1,000,000 times over. Because that is the scale of the impact that you could have. You can open your eyes. When I close my eyes, the person that I imagine is Michelle. Michelle's in his early 40s, and he lives in the Seychelles. We met about 3 years ago when I was on vacation, and he was my tour guide. We went on a beautiful hike, walking along the white sand beach, the turquoise waves lapping gently against our feet. But while that might sound like a paradise, it was actually a graveyard. Because with every step that I took, I crushed the skeletons of dead coral beneath my feet. They were the victims of a 2016 mass bleaching event due to climate change. And then Michelle turned to me and told me something I will never forget. He said, "Emily, the dead coral are just a warning sign for what will happen next. My family and friends might be the next victims. And so when you go back to the UK, remember to be impatient. Because every second that your people delay making a difference on climate change, my people pay the price." And as I looked out at the dead coral beneath my feet and I heard these words, I felt a tightness within my chest, a sense of sadness, of guilt, a sense of sadness as I imagined the once beautiful and brilliant, vibrant coral reef teeming with life, now lifeless and dead at my feet. And guilt because I knew that Michelle was right. I needed to be impatient, and I wasn't. Now, at the time, I was on a career break. I'd taken 3 months off work to try and figure out what I wanted to do next. With my bank account almost empty after 3 months in the Seychelles, I'd been thinking about taking a role as a corporate consultant. Whilst I cared about climate change, I thought, 1, it's a really hard problem to solve, and 2, I'm not ready. I'm too young. I don't have the skills, the money, the resources to make any sort of meaningful difference. But that day, Michelle reminded me to be impatient for impact. And I knew that I couldn't tackle climate change properly as a corporate consultant. And so when I went back home, I took a 50% pay cut and accepted a role working to build London's green technology infrastructure. And every day since that day, I have tried to incorporate impact into the actions and decisions that I make. I became impatient, and I want all of you to be impatient as well. Because there are many problems that we care about in today's world, as we all thought about just a few minutes ago. And the situation that we find ourselves in today is analogous to the situation that I found myself in 3 years ago. We've taken a break from our careers, our bank accounts are definitely going downhill, and we now face a choice. Do we follow the traditional path, wait to build financial security, and then think about making a difference? Or do we do something different? should we be impatient and start immediately to work on the problems that we care about? Because while we may want to wait to make a difference, the world cannot wait for us. We stand at a pivotal moment in history. Global inequality is reaching staggering levels. Climate change accelerates unchecked, and advancements in AI pose profound ethical risks. All of these problems, and all of the ones that are important to you, need solutions today, not in 20 years' time. Impatient impact is about incorporating environmental and social impact into the decisions that you make now, rather than waiting for personal or professional milestones to start thinking about making a difference. But I also know that impatient impact is scary. And as I think about my own future after the GSB, I get scared. Because what if I focus on impact and then it's really hard for me to repay my student loans, or afford my dream home, or support my parents financially? These concerns are real, and they keep me up at night. But the thing that I come back to is that all the evidence I've ever seen suggests that more money won't make my life happier or more meaningful. We know that if you earn above $75,000 in an annual income, additional salary doesn't lead to any meaningful difference in your life satisfaction. And I also return to something that I wrote in my journal many years ago. When I was trying to make the choice about whether I should focus on impact in my career or not, I found this journal that I'd written when I was 16. Most of it was filled with poems about high school crushes. But as I flicked through the pages and landed on the final page, one sentence stood out to me. Back in 2013, my 16-year-old self had written, "Emily, if you read this after 2022 and you haven't yet made a difference to the world, remember, now is the time to act." And so every time that I start to waver in my commitment to impatient impact, I think back to those words, and I think about honoring my former self and her true belief in the fact that everyone in the world could truly make a difference. And I'm not here to tell you what impatient impact should look like for you. Not everyone has to leave this room and go found a nonprofit. While at Stanford, there are many ways to make a difference on the problems that you care about. You could donate a proportion of your spending money to effective charities. You could find a summer internship that allows you to work directly on the problems that interest you. And after Stanford, the opportunities are limitless. You could found a mission-driven startup. You could work in policy within government. You could advocate for stakeholder capitalism and corporate social responsibility within your organizations. But what I am here today to tell you is that you should do something. And most importantly, you should start today. If your entire life was compressed into a week, most of us would already be on Wednesday morning. By Friday evening, we'll be thinking about retirement. And by Sunday evening, our time to make a difference on the world will be over. And so as you leave this room today, I urge you to be impatient. It doesn't matter what you did before the GSB or even what you're doing now. What matters is what you do next. Make a promise to yourself and to the world that you will not let the years pass without trying to solve some of the world's biggest problems. Because whilst they say patience is a virtue, when it comes to impact, be impatient.